Zara Nightwind was dying, and she knew it. The powerful alpha female crouched behind a fallen log in the dense forest, her breathing labored and her vision blurring from blood loss. The wound across her ribs, courtesy of the rogue pack that had ambushed her patrol 3 hours ago, showed no signs of healing despite her supernatural abilities. Something was wrong, terribly, fundamentally wrong. And for the first time in her 28 years, Zara felt truly afraid. She'd earned her reputation as the fiercest warrior in the Northern Territories through sheer determination and an almost reckless disregard for her own safety. While other alphas led from behind, sending their pack members into danger, Zara fought on the front lines. She was the first into battle and the last to retreat, a wild force of nature who had never met a challenge she couldn't overcome through pure strength and stubborn will. But now, as darkness crept in at the edges of her vision, Zara was beginning to understand that there were some battles that couldn't be won with claws and fury. "Alpha Zara," came a weak voice through her comm device. "Status report." Zara tried to respond to Marcus, her second in command, but only managed a pained gasp. The device crackled with static, too damaged from the fight to maintain a clear connection. She was on her own, miles from pack territory, with wounds that should have healed hours ago but instead seemed to be getting worse. The rogue attack had been unlike anything she'd encountered before. The enemy wolves had moved with coordination that suggested military training, and their weapons had been specifically designed to harm supernatural beings. But most disturbing of all, their claws had been coated with something that prevented normal healing, something that was slowly poisoning her system. Zara forced herself to stand, swaying dangerously as the world tilted around her. She needed to find shelter, needed to get back to pack territory where Dr. Harrison could treat whatever toxin was coursing through her veins. But each step sent waves of agony through her body, and she could feel her strength ebbing with every labored breath. Through the haze of pain and fever, Zara caught a scent that made her wolf perk up with interest. It was sweet and comforting, like wildflowers and morning rain, but underneath lay something that called to her on a level deeper than consciousness. Her wolf, usually a force of aggression and dominance, suddenly yearned toward that scent with desperate need. Following instincts she didn't understand, Zara stumbled through the underbrush toward the source of that compelling fragrance. Her rational mind warned her that approaching an unknown shifter in her weakened state was dangerous, possibly suicidal. But something deeper than logic was driving her forward, as if her very survival depended on finding whoever carried that scent. She emerged into a small clearing, where a modest cabin sat nestled among towering pines. Smoke rose from the chimney, and warm yellow light spilled from the windows, creating an image of peace and safety that seemed impossible after the violence of the day. But it was the person tending a small herb garden beside the cabin that made Zara's heart skip a beat. The woman was small and delicate, with silver-blonde hair that caught the late afternoon sunlight like spun moonbeams. She moved with the quiet grace that marked her as a shifter, but there was nothing threatening about her presence. If anything, she radiated a calm serenity that made Zara's tortured wolf settle for the first time in hours. An Omega, Zara realized with surprise. She'd encountered very few Omegas in her life, as most preferred the safety of large pack settlements to the dangerous frontier territories where Zara made her home. This one seemed even more delicate than most, with an ethereal quality that made her appear almost otherworldly. The Omega looked up from her plants, as if sensing Zara's presence, and their eyes met across the clearing. Zara found herself staring into the most beautiful face she'd ever seen, heart-shaped with high cheekbones and eyes the color of forest moss. But it was the expression of immediate concern and compassion that nearly brought Zara to her knees. "Oh my goodness," the Omega said, her voice like silver bells as she dropped her gardening tools and hurried toward Zara. "You're hurt." Zara tried to take a step back, her alpha instincts warning her not to show weakness to a stranger, but her legs chose that moment to give out entirely. She collapsed to her knees in the soft grass, her vision swimming as the poison in her system surged with renewed vigor. "Hey, stay with me," the Omega said, dropping to her knees beside Zara without any apparent concern for her own safety. "My name is Luna Brightwater. I'm a healer. Can you tell me what happened?" "Attacked," Zara managed to whisper, her voice barely audible. "Poison, can't heal." Luna's hands hovered over Zara's wounds, and even without direct contact, Zara could feel a strange warmth emanating from the Omega's touch. It was like standing in sunlight after weeks of darkness. a sensation of pure comfort that eased the constant pain for the first time since the attack. "This is bad," Luna murmured, her moss-green eyes filled with worry. "But I can help you. You just have to trust me." Trust. The word was foreign to Zara, who had learned early that trusting others was a luxury she couldn't afford. But as consciousness began to slip away and darkness closed in around her, she found herself nodding weakly. "Please," Zara whispered, the word torn from her throat by desperation she'd never allowed herself to feel before. Luna's hands settled gently on Zara's shoulders, and immediately the world exploded in warmth and light. Zara felt something she'd never experienced before, a mark appearing on her skin, burning bright and hot but somehow completely painless. Through the haze of fever and exhaustion, she realized that Luna was glowing, silver light emanating from her hands and flowing into Zara's wounded body. "What are you?" Zara breathed, staring at this impossible Omega who radiated power like a small sun. "Someone who's been waiting for you," Luna replied softly, and then the world went black. Chapter 2. The Healing Touch. Zara woke to the sensation of gentle hands checking her pulse and the scent of healing herbs filling her nostrils. For a moment she couldn't remember where she was or how she'd gotten there. Then the memories came flooding back. The attack, the poison, the mysterious Omega who had somehow saved her life. She was lying on a comfortable bed in what appeared to be a cozy cabin bedroom, warm quilts pulled up to her chin, and bandages covering her previously fatal wounds. But most shocking of all, she felt good. Better than good, actually. She felt stronger and more energized than she had in months. "You're awake," came that silver bell voice that had been haunting her dreams. Zara turned her head to see Luna Brightwater, sitting in a chair beside the bed, her moss-green eyes bright with relief. In the soft lamplight, she looked even more ethereal than she had in the garden, like something from a fairy tale rather than the harsh reality of frontier pack life. "How long?" Zara asked, her voice hoarse from disuse. 3 days, Luna replied, leaning forward with concern. The poison was unlike anything I'd seen before. It was specifically designed to prevent supernatural healing and slowly break down cellular regeneration. Zara sat up carefully, testing her body's responses. The wound that had been killing her was now nothing more than a thin pink line across her ribs, and she felt no trace of the burning toxin that had been consuming her from within. "How?" Zara asked simply. Luna's cheeks flushed with what looked like embarrassment. "I'm what the old texts call a true healer. It's rare. Most Omegas have some healing ability, but true healers can actually reverse supernatural toxins and accelerate healing beyond normal shifter capabilities." "That's not all you did," Zara said, rolling up her sleeve to reveal an intricate silver mark that covered most of her forearm. The design was beautiful, flowing lines that looked like vines and flowers intertwined with geometric patterns that seemed to pulse with inner light. "This appeared when you healed me." Luna's blush deepened. That's a healing bond mark. It only appears when a true healer saves someone whose life is fundamentally connected to theirs." Zara stared at the mark, then at Luna. "Connected how?" "The old texts say it means we're meant to be mates," Luna said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. The word mates hit Zara like a physical blow. She'd never wanted a mate, never believed she was capable of the kind of vulnerability and emotional intimacy that mating required. Her life was about strength, independence, and protecting her pack from the dangers of the frontier. There was no room for the softness that came with loving someone. "That's impossible," Zara said, though even as she spoke the words, she could feel the truth of the bond humming in her veins. "Is it?" Luna asked gently. "Can you feel it? The connection between us?" Zara wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. From the moment she'd seen Luna in that garden, something had shifted inside her. The wild, aggressive energy that usually drove her had been replaced by something calmer but no less powerful. And now, looking at Luna's gentle face, she felt a possessive protectiveness that had nothing to do with pack loyalty and everything to do with mates, Zara said, the word feeling strange on her tongue. "I know it's overwhelming," Luna said, misreading Zara's tone. "If you don't want the bond, I can try to—" "No," Zara said sharply, surprising herself with the vehemence of her response. Don't try to break it." Luna's face lit up with a smile that was like watching the sunrise. "Really?" Zara studied this remarkable Omega, who had saved her life and somehow bound herself to the most dangerous alpha in the Northern Territories. Luna was everything Zara was not. Gentle where Zara was fierce, healing where Zara brought destruction, soft where Zara was all sharp edges and barely controlled violence. "I don't know how to be someone's mate," Zara admitted. The confession torn from her by the strange honesty the bond seemed to inspire. "I don't either," Luna said with a soft laugh. "I've lived alone in these woods for 5 years. I'm not exactly experienced with relationships." "Why alone?" Zara asked, curious about this mysterious healer who lived so far from any pack. Luna's expression grew sad. "True healers are coveted. Packs want to control us, use our abilities for their own purposes. I got tired of being treated like a valuable object instead of a person, so I left." Zara felt anger flare in her chest, not at Luna, but at whoever had made this gentle woman feel like she needed to hide her gifts. "No one will ever treat you like an object again," Zara said with quiet intensity. "Not while I'm breathing." "Zara," Luna said softly, "you don't have to protect me. I chose to save you, chose to accept the bond. I'm stronger than I look." "I know you are," Zara replied, thinking about the incredible power Luna had displayed while healing her. "But that doesn't mean you have to face the world alone anymore." Luna reached out hesitantly, her fingers brushing against Zara's healing mark. The contact sent warmth racing through both their bodies, and Zara saw Luna's eyes widen with wonder. "I can feel your emotions," Luna whispered. "Your determination, your protectiveness, but also your fear." "Fear of what?" Zara asked, though she suspected she already knew. "Fear that you're not worthy of being loved," Luna said with gentle understanding. "Fear that your wildness, your violence, makes you too dangerous to be close to." Zara felt exposed in a way that was more intimate than physical nakedness. "Aren't I?" Luna's hand moved to cup Zara's cheek, her touch impossibly gentle. "Zara Nightwind, you are a warrior who fights to protect others. You put yourself in danger so your pack stays safe. You're not dangerous, you're dedicated, and you're absolutely worthy of love." The words hit Zara harder than any physical blow she'd ever taken. For the first time in her adult life, she felt tears threatening to spill. "I don't know how to be soft," Zara said desperately. "I don't need you to be soft," Luna replied. "I need you to be you, wild, fierce, protective you. That's who I bonded with, that's who I—" She paused, color flooding her cheeks. "Who you what?" Zara asked, though her heart was already racing with hope. "Who I'm falling in love with," Luna finished quietly. Zara stared at this incredible woman who had saved her life, accepted a bond that tied them together forever, and was now offering her a love she'd never believed she deserved. The wild alpha who had never needed anyone suddenly understood that she needed Luna Brightwater, like she needed air to breathe. "I'm falling in love with you too," Zara said, the admission feeling like the most dangerous and most necessary thing she'd ever said. When Luna smiled, it was like watching the world become a brighter place, and when she leaned forward to kiss Zara softly, the healing mark on Zara's arm blazed with silver light, sealing a bond that would transform both their lives forever. The weak Omega's mark hadn't just saved the wild alpha's life, it had saved her soul. Chapter 3. Unexpected Visitors. The peaceful morning was shattered by the sound of vehicles approaching Luna's hidden sanctuary. Zara was instantly alert, her alpha instincts flaring as she moved to the window with predatory grace. Through the trees, she could see 3 black SUVs making their way up the barely visible dirt road that led to Luna's cabin. "Luna," Zara called urgently. "We have company." Luna appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her expression immediately shifting from domestic contentment to worry. "No one knows about this place. I made sure of that when I chose it." Zara studied the approaching vehicles, noting their military-style modifications and tinted windows. "These aren't random visitors. Someone tracked us here." The vehicles stopped just at the edge of the clearing, and Zara counted 8 figures emerging from them. All were clearly shifters, moving with the controlled grace that marked them as experienced fighters. But it was the man leading them that made Zara's blood run cold. "Victor Blackthorn," she growled, recognizing the scarred face and cold gray eyes of the rogue alpha who had been terrorizing the Northern Territories for months. Luna moved to stand beside Zara at the window, her face pale with recognition. "He's the one who's been hunting true healers. 3 have disappeared in the past year." "Not you," Zara said fiercely, her protective instincts blazing to life. Not while I'm breathing. Victor's amplified voice carried clearly across the clearing. Luna Brightwater, we know you're in there. Come out peacefully and we won't have to hurt your companion. Luna's hand found Zara's, their bond mark immediately warming with shared determination. He doesn't know who you are, Luna said quietly. He thinks you're just some random shifter I'm hiding with. Good, Zara replied, her mind already working through tactical options. Let's keep it that way until I can figure out how to get us out of this. Miss Brightwater, Victor called again, his tone growing impatient. I'm offering you a generous deal. Come with us willingly, and you'll be treated with the respect due to your unique abilities. Refuse, and we'll take you anyway, after dealing with anyone who tries to protect you. Zara could feel Luna's fear through their bond, but underneath it was a steely determination that surprised her. This gentle Omega had more backbone than most alphas Zara knew. What do you want to do? Zara asked, deferring to Luna's knowledge of the situation while making it clear she was ready to fight. I won't go with them, Luna said firmly. I've seen what happens to healers in Victor's hands. They become nothing more than medical slaves, forced to heal his fighters so they can continue terrorizing innocent packs. Then we fight, Zara said simply, already calculating angles of attack and defensive positions. Zara, there are 8 of them, Luna pointed out. Even you can't… Watch me, Zara interrupted, a wild grin making Luna's heart skip a beat. Besides, I'm not the same fighter I was 3 days ago. Whatever you did when you healed me, it made me stronger. It was true. Zara could feel power flowing through her veins that went beyond her normal alpha abilities. The healing bond with Luna seemed to have enhanced not just her physical capabilities, but her tactical instincts and supernatural senses. Luna Brightwater. Victor's voice was sharp with authority now. This is your final warning. Show yourself or we start burning down the forest until we find you. Stay here, Zara told Luna, moving toward the cabin's front door. Absolutely not, Luna replied, catching Zara's arm. We're bonded now. That means we face things together. Zara wanted to argue, wanted to lock Luna somewhere safe while she dealt with the threat. But she could feel through their bond that Luna wouldn't accept protection that came at the cost of being sidelined. Together then, Zara agreed. But Luna, promise me that if things go badly, you'll run. Don't let them take you. Only if you promise the same, Luna replied. I didn't save your life just to watch you throw it away protecting me. They stepped out of the cabin together, and Zara had the satisfaction of seeing surprise flicker across Victor's scarred features when he recognized her. Well, Victor said with a cold smile. Zara Nightwind, the famous wild alpha of the Northern Territories. This is unexpected. Victor Blackthorn, Zara replied, her voice carrying the dangerous calm that had preceded violence in 100 battles. I should have known you were behind those coordinated attacks. Your rogues are getting sloppy. They left survivors. Not for much longer, Victor said, gesturing to his fighters to spread out and surround the cabin. Miss Brightwater, you've chosen your protector poorly. Zara Nightwind may have a reputation for violence, but she's just one alpha against 8 experienced fighters. She's not just any alpha, Luna said, stepping forward with surprising confidence. She's mine. The simple declaration sent warmth flooding through Zara's chest. Luna wasn't cowering behind her protection. She was standing beside her as an equal partner. Yours? Victor laughed, but there was a sharp edge to the sound. Little healer, you have no idea what you're dealing with. Alphas like Zara use people. They don't form genuine bonds. You're wrong, Luna said firmly. But then you wouldn't understand genuine bonds, would you? You only know how to take and control. Victor's expression darkened. Enough talk. Boys, take the healer. Kill the alpha. The attack came from 3 directions simultaneously, but Zara was ready. The enhanced strength and speed from her bond with Luna made her faster than she'd ever been before. She met the first attacker head-on, her claws extending as she shifted partially into her wolf form. But what happened next surprised everyone, including Zara herself. As she fought, silver light began emanating from her healing mark, and every wound inflicted by her opponents began healing immediately. More than that, the light seemed to disrupt the attackers' coordination, making them clumsy and confused. What the hell? One of Victor's fighters gasped, as his supposedly fatal strike across Zara's shoulder closed up before his eyes. Luna wasn't standing idle either. She'd positioned herself where she could see the entire battle, and every time one of Victor's fighters gained an advantage, She would gesture subtly, and their weapon would jam, their footing would slip, or their vision would blur momentarily. "She's helping you," Victor snarled, finally understanding why his supposedly superior numbers weren't overwhelming Zara. "We're helping each other," Zara corrected, taking down 2 more attackers with moves that seemed impossible even for an alpha of her skill level. The battle turned into a rout as Zara's enhanced abilities and Luna's subtle interference made Victor's fighters look like amateurs. Within minutes, 6 of the 8 attackers were down, leaving only Victor and 1 remaining fighter. "This isn't over," Victor growled, backing toward his vehicle while his last man provided cover. "Yes, it is," Zara said, her voice carrying absolute certainty. "You come after Luna again, you come after any true healer, and I'll hunt you down personally." "You think 1 enhanced alpha can stop me?" Victor spat. "I think," Luna said, stepping forward with power radiating from her small frame, "that you have no idea what you're really facing." She raised her hand, and silver light exploded from her palm. Victor and his remaining fighter were suddenly frozen in place, held by some invisible force that made their eyes widen with terror. "Luna Brightwater isn't just a true healer," Luna said, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in the bones of everyone present. "She's the last of the ancient healers, and she's under the protection of an alpha whose bond with her makes them both stronger than you could possibly imagine." The invisible force released Victor and his fighter, sending them stumbling backward toward their vehicle. "You want to hunt healers?" Luna continued, power still crackling around her like visible electricity. "Try hunting me. But understand that you'll be facing not just me but my mate and every ally we can gather. The age of preying on the vulnerable is over." Victor and his man fled without another word, leaving their fallen comrades behind. Chapter 4. Revelations and Resolve. After the attackers had been dealt with and the injured fighters taken to neutral territory for medical attention, Zara and Luna sat together on the cabin's front porch, processing what had just happened. "Ancient healer?" Zara asked, her arm around Luna's shoulders as they watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. Luna leaned into Zara's warmth, her earlier display of power having left her drained but oddly peaceful. "I wasn't entirely honest about my abilities," she admitted. "True healers are rare, but ancient healers are supposed to be extinct. We were the ones who could heal not just bodies, but souls, who could enhance the supernatural abilities of those we bonded with. That explains why I felt so much stronger during the fight," Zara said thoughtfully, "and why my wounds healed so quickly. The bond between an ancient healer and their mate is profound," Luna continued. "We don't just share emotions or thoughts, we share power. Your strength becomes mine and my healing becomes yours." Zara absorbed this information, understanding now why Victor had been so determined to capture Luna. An ancient healer could make an entire pack nearly invincible. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Zara asked, though there was no accusation in her voice, only curiosity. "Because people hear ancient healer, and they see a weapon to be controlled, not a person to be loved," Luna said quietly. "I've spent 5 years hiding what I really am, because every pack that discovered the truth tried to force me into bonding with their alpha. Is that why you live alone? Because you were afraid of being forced into an unwanted bond?" "Partly," Luna admitted, "but also because ancient healers can only bond with one person in their entire lifetime. If I chose wrong, if I bonded with someone who saw me as a tool rather than a partner, I'd be trapped forever." Zara felt the weight of that revelation. "And you chose me. A wild alpha with more scars than sense who crashes into your life bleeding and half dead." Luna turned in Zara's arms, her moss-green eyes serious. "I chose you because when I touched you, when I felt your soul through my healing power, I saw someone who protects others at the cost of herself. Someone who's never asked for gentleness because she's too busy making sure others are safe. Luna, I chose you," Luna continued, "because you're not wild in a destructive way. You're wild like a forest fire that clears away the dead growth so new life can flourish. You're exactly who I've been waiting for my entire life." Zara felt tears threatening again, still unused to the emotional vulnerability that Luna inspired in her. "I don't deserve you." "Zara Nightwind," Luna said firmly, taking Zara's face in her hands. "You saved my life today just as much as I saved yours 3 days ago." "How? You're the one with the incredible healing powers." "You're the one who stood between me and 8 attackers without hesitation," Luna replied. "You're the one who accepted a bond with me even though you had no idea what it would mean. You're the one who called me yours in front of our enemies, and meant it with every fiber of your being." Zara studied Luna's face, seeing absolute sincerity in her expression. "So what happens now? Victor knows where you are, knows what you are. He'll be back with more fighters." "Then we don't give him the chance," Luna said with quiet determination. "We take the fight to him." Zara blinked in surprise. "We? You think I'm going to let you face him alone?" Luna asked with a smile that was both gentle and fierce. "Zara, we're bonded now. That means your enemies are my enemies, your fights are my fights. Luna, you're a healer, not a warrior." "I'm an ancient healer bonded to the fiercest alpha in the Northern Territories," Luna corrected. "That makes me more dangerous than Victor could possibly imagine." Zara felt pride and love surge through their bond. This gentle woman who had saved her life was revealing depths of strength and courage that took Zara's breath away. "All right," Zara said, her tactical mind already beginning to plan their next moves. "But we do this smart. Victor has resources, connections, and a network of rogue fighters. We'll need allies." "I know where to find them," Luna said, surprising Zara again. "The ancient healers weren't just healers. We were the keepers of supernatural history and lore. I know which pack leaders have been secretly fighting Victor's expansion, which territories he's planning to target next." "You want to unite the Northern Territories against him," Zara realized. "I want to end his reign of terror once and for all," Luna said firmly. "And I want to create a place where healers and other vulnerable shifters don't have to hide in the woods to feel safe." Zara looked at this remarkable woman who had transformed from a gentle hermit into a determined leader in the space of a few hours. The bond between them pulsed with shared purpose and unshakable love. "Then let's build something better," Zara said, sealing their partnership with a kiss that tasted like hope and felt like coming home. As they sat together planning their campaign against Victor Blackthorn, both women understood that they were no longer just mates who had found each other against all odds. They were partners in a mission that would reshape the Northern Territories and prove that strength came not from domination, but from the courage to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The weak Omega's mark had indeed saved the Wild Alpha, but together they were going to save everyone else too. Chapter 5. Gathering Allies. 2 weeks later, Zara and Luna sat in the war room of the Crescent Moon Pack's stronghold, surrounded by maps, communication equipment, and the tense energy of 8 different pack leaders who had never been in the same room together before. The meeting had taken days to arrange, with Zara calling in every favor, and Luna reaching out to contacts she'd made during her years of hiding. "Let me understand this correctly," Alpha Catherine Stoneheart said, her steel-grey eyes moving between Zara and Luna with barely concealed skepticism. "You want us to unite against Victor Blackthorn based on the word of a hermit healer and a lone wolf alpha who's never shown interest in pack politics before?" Zara felt her temper flare, but Luna's calming presence through their bond kept her from responding with the aggressive challenge that would have been her default. Instead, she leaned back in her chair and spoke with measured calm. "I want you to unite against Victor, based on the evidence that he's systematically targeting healers, forcing smaller packs into submission, and building an army that threatens every territory in the northern region," Zara replied evenly. "Evidence you say you have but haven't shown us," Alpha Marcus Ironwood added, his scarred hands folded on the table in front of him. Luna stood gracefully, moving to the large display screen at the front of the room. "Then let me show you." She activated the presentation system, and the screen filled with detailed maps, photographs, and documentation that made several pack leaders lean forward with interest. "Over the past 18 months, Victor Blackthorn's forces have attacked or intimidated 14 different packs," Luna began, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had done extensive research. "In each case, they specifically targeted healers, taking them by force if they couldn't be coerced into cooperation." "How do you know this?" Alpha Sarah Moonwater asked, genuine curiosity replacing her initial skepticism. "Because before I went into hiding, I was part of an underground network that tracked attacks on healers," Luna replied. "We documented every disappearance, every forced recruitment, every pack that lost their medical support to Victor's expansion." She clicked to the next slide, showing a timeline of attacks that painted a disturbing picture of escalating aggression. "Look at the pattern," Luna continued. "Victor isn't just collecting healers, he's systematically weakening neighboring territories by removing their ability to recover from conflicts. Packs without healers can't sustain resistance to his expansion." Alpha David Brightclaw, whose territory bordered Victor's current stronghold, spoke up with obvious concern. 3 months ago, we lost our healer to what we thought was a random attack. You're saying it was coordinated? I'm saying Victor has been playing a long game, Luna confirmed. Weaken your neighbors, absorb their territories, build an army. Repeat. He's not just a rogue alpha anymore, he's building an empire. Zara stood to join Luna at the front of the room, their bond mark glowing softly as they moved in perfect synchronization. The question, Zara said, is whether we're going to let him continue picking us off one at a time, or whether we're going to work together to stop him. Alpha Catherine leaned back in her chair, studying both women with calculating eyes. And what exactly are you proposing? A military alliance, a coordinated attack? We're proposing a new model entirely, Luna said, surprising several pack leaders with her boldness. Not just a temporary alliance, but a confederation. Shared resources, mutual defense agreements, and protection for healers and other vulnerable community members. You're talking about fundamentally changing how Northern Territory packs operate, Alpha Marcus said, though his tone suggested interest rather than rejection. We're talking about survival, Zara replied bluntly. Victor's forces grow stronger every month, while we remain isolated and vulnerable. Unity isn't just strategically smart, it's necessary. Alpha Sarah stood and moved to examine the detailed maps Luna had prepared. These intelligence reports, they're remarkably comprehensive. How did a healer in hiding gather this much tactical information? Luna exchanged a glance with Zara, their bond allowing wordless communication about how much to reveal. Because I'm not just any healer, Luna said finally. I'm an ancient healer. My abilities include not just physical healing, but information gathering through supernatural means. The room went completely silent. Ancient healers were legend, myths that most modern shifters didn't believe actually existed. Prove it, Alpha Catherine said quietly. Luna nodded, having expected this challenge. She moved to Alpha David, who had mentioned losing his healer. May I? She asked, gesturing toward his hands. Alpha David extended his scarred hands uncertainly. The moment Luna's fingers touched his skin, her eyes began to glow with silver light, and everyone in the room could see the ancient battle scars on his hands beginning to fade. But more than that, Luna suddenly spoke in a voice that carried harmonics no normal shifter could produce. The attack on your healer happened at dawn on the 7th day of the 3rd month. 3 vehicles approached from the eastern road. The leader had a scar across his left cheek and spoke with an accent from the southern territories. Alpha David's eyes widened. That's exactly what happened, down to details we never reported to anyone. Luna released his hands, the silver glow fading from her eyes. Ancient healers don't just heal bodies, Alpha David. We can read the psychic impressions left by traumatic events, trace supernatural energies across vast distances, and enhance the abilities of those we're bonded with. She gestured to Zara, whose own eyes were now glowing with reflected silver light. When an ancient healer bonds with a true mate, both partners become more than they could ever be alone. Alpha Catherine stood slowly, her expression transformed from skepticism to something approaching awe. You're offering us not just military alliance, but access to ancient healer abilities. We're offering partnership, Zara corrected. Luna and I don't want to rule or control anyone. We want to create a system where packs support each other, where healers and other vulnerable members are protected, and where rogues like Victor can't prey on isolated communities. The pack leaders exchanged glances, communicating through subtle body language and brief eye contact. Finally, Alpha Marcus spoke for the group. What do you need from us? Chapter 6. The Battle for the Future. The coordinated attack on Victor Blackthorn's stronghold began at dawn, with forces from 7 allied packs converging on his mountain fortress from multiple directions. Zara and Luna moved with the primary assault team, their enhanced bond making them a formidable partnership that could adapt to rapidly changing battlefield conditions. Eastern approach secure, came Marcus's voice through their communication system. Heavy resistance at the main gate. Western teams in position, reported Alpha Catherine. Victor's forces are falling back to defensive positions. Zara and Luna had positioned themselves with the team targeting Victor's command center, where intelligence suggested he was holding captured healers. Their mission was both rescue and elimination of Victor's leadership. Remember, Luna said through their private comm channel, our priority is the healers. Everything else is secondary. Understood, Zara replied, though her wolf was eager for direct confrontation with the rogue alpha who had threatened her mate. They moved through the fortress with supernatural stealth, Luna's abilities allowing her to sense the location of injured or distressed individuals, while Zara's enhanced tactical instincts guided them past enemy patrols. The bond between them had evolved during their preparation for this mission, creating a level of coordination that made them function like a single organism with multiple capabilities. "There," Luna whispered, pointing to a heavily guarded building at the fortress's center. "I can sense at least 6 healers inside. They're alive but weakened." Zara studied the building's defenses, her enhanced perception allowing her to identify weak points that would have been invisible to normal sight. 4 guards at the entrance, 2 rooftop sentries, and someone very powerful inside. "Victor." "Feels like it," Zara confirmed. "He's trying to mask his presence, but the bond lets me sense supernatural signatures through your abilities." They approached the building through a series of coordinated movements that looked like a deadly dance. Luna would use her powers to create distractions, equipment malfunctions, temporary confusion, sudden fatigue, while Zara eliminated threats with precision that left no room for alarms. Inside the building, they found exactly what Luna's senses had detected: 6 healers from various packs, held in cells that were designed to suppress supernatural abilities. All were alive but clearly weakened from forced healing of Victor's fighters. "Luna Brightwater," one of the captive healers gasped in recognition. "We heard rumors you were still alive." "More than alive," Luna replied, beginning to work on the cell locks with controlled bursts of her power. "Free, bonded, and here to end Victor's operation permanently." "He's upstairs," another healer warned. "Waiting for you. He knows you're here." Zara and Luna exchanged glances, communicating through their bond about the obvious trap they were walking into. "Get them out," Zara said, making the decision for both of them. "I'll handle Victor." "Absolutely not," Luna replied firmly. "We go together or not at all." "Luna, he's specifically after you. If something happens to me, you can still save them." "Zara Nightwind," Luna said, power beginning to radiate from her small frame. "If you think I'm letting you face him alone after everything we've been through, you clearly don't understand what being bonded to an ancient healer means." Before Zara could argue, Luna placed her hand on Zara's healing mark. Immediately, power flooded through both of them. Not just Luna's healing abilities, but the combined strength, speed, and supernatural senses of their perfected bond. "Now we're ready," Luna said with a smile that was both gentle and fierce. They climbed to the building's upper level together, where Victor Blackthorn waited in a room that had clearly been prepared for confrontation. The rogue Alpha stood behind a massive desk, flanked by his 4 remaining lieutenants, his scarred face twisted with the kind of rage that came from having his plans systematically destroyed. "The famous Luna Brightwater," Victor said with mock politeness, "and her attack dog. You've caused me considerable inconvenience." "We've stopped you from terrorizing innocent packs," Luna corrected, her voice carrying harmonics that made Victor's lieutenants step back involuntarily. "Temporarily delayed me," Victor replied. "Did you really think a handful of weak pack alliances could stop what I'm building?" "We think," Zara said, moving into a fighting stance that radiated lethal intent, "that your reign of terror ends today." The battle that followed was unlike anything the Northern Territories had ever seen. Victor and his lieutenants were formidable fighters, enhanced by forced healing and supernatural stimulants. But Zara and Luna fought as a bonded unit that transcended normal pack dynamics. Luna's abilities allowed her to predict and counter attacks before they developed, while simultaneously healing any damage Zara sustained and enhancing her physical capabilities beyond normal alpha limits. Zara became a force of controlled destruction, her tactical brilliance amplified by Luna's strategic insights and supernatural senses. "Impossible," Victor snarled as his lieutenants fell one by one. "No bond is strong enough to make you this powerful." "You're wrong," Luna said, silver light blazing from her hands as she and Zara moved in perfect synchronization. "Ancient healer bonds don't just connect mates, they evolve them." The final confrontation was brief but decisive. Victor, enhanced by stolen healer abilities and driven by desperation, was still no match for the combined power of an ancient healer and her true mate, fighting to protect their community. When it was over, when Victor and his organization had been dismantled and the captured healers were free, Zara and Luna stood together on the fortress walls, watching the sunrise paint the mountains in brilliant colors. "So what happens now?" Zara asked, echoing their first conversation but with completely different context. "Now we build the future we fought for," Luna replied, leaning against Zara's side with perfect contentment. "A confederation where healers are protected, where packs support each other, and where rogues like Victor can never threaten innocent people again." "And us?" Zara asked, her arm tightening around Luna's waist. "Us," Luna said with a smile that held infinite promise. "We get to discover what an ancient healer and her wild alpha mate can accomplish when they're not just surviving, but thriving." As their bond mark pulsed with warm silver light in the dawn, both women understood that they had done more than defeat an enemy or save their community. They had proven that strength came not from domination, but from the courage to heal, protect, and love without limits. The weak Omega's mark had saved the wild alpha, but together they had saved everyone else, and built a foundation for a future where no one would have to choose between hiding their gifts and losing their freedom. Their love story had become a legend that would inspire generations of shifters to believe that the most powerful bonds were forged not in conquest, but in the decision to stand together against the darkness. Chapter 7. Building a New World. 6 months after Victor's defeat, Zara and Luna stood in the council chamber of what had once been his fortress, now transformed into the headquarters of the Northern Territories Confederation. The room that had once been a symbol of oppression now buzzed with the productive energy of representatives from 12 allied packs working together to address challenges that affected their entire region. "The Healing Sanctuary project is ahead of schedule," Dr. Sarah Chen reported, addressing the assembled council. "We now have 7 facilities where healers can train, research, and treat patients without fear of exploitation." Luna felt a warm surge of pride and satisfaction through her bond with Zara. The healing sanctuaries had been her idea, places where healers of all skill levels could develop their abilities while contributing to the greater good of their communities. "What about the patrol coordination system?" asked Alpha Catherine, who had become one of their strongest allies and now served as the Confederation's security coordinator. "Running smoothly," Zara replied, consulting the tablet that contained reports from dozens of joint patrol units. "We've had 3 attempted incursions by rogue groups in the past month, all detected and repelled before they could establish footholds. The transformation had been remarkable. Where individual packs had once struggled to maintain security and resources, the Confederation's shared systems created strength through cooperation. Healers no longer lived in fear. Young shifters had opportunities for education and training across pack boundaries, and potential threats were identified and addressed collectively rather than leaving individual communities to face them alone. "There's something else we need to discuss," Luna said, standing to address the council. "We've been contacted by representatives from the eastern and southern regions. They want to establish similar confederations and are asking for our guidance." The room fell silent as council members processed this information. The success of their model was attracting attention far beyond the Northern Territories. "What kind of guidance are they requesting?" Alpha Marcus asked thoughtfully. "Organizational structure, resource-sharing protocols, and most importantly, protection frameworks for vulnerable community members," Zara replied. "Apparently, news of our healing sanctuaries has spread, and other regions are dealing with similar problems, with rogue groups targeting healers and other gifted individuals." Alpha David leaned forward with interest. "Are we talking about expanding the Confederation or helping them establish independent ones?" "Independent but allied," Luna said firmly. "The goal isn't to create a massive empire, but to establish a network of confederations that can support each other while maintaining regional autonomy." Dr. Chen smiled. "A confederation of confederations. It's elegant. It's necessary," Zara added. "Victor wasn't the only rogue leader building power through exploitation. If we can help other regions establish protective systems before they face similar threats, we prevent future conflicts rather than just responding to them." As the council discussion continued, Luna felt a familiar sensation through her bond with Zara, the approach of someone with significant supernatural energy. She glanced toward the chamber's entrance just as the doors opened to admit a young woman who radiated the unmistakable aura of a powerful healer. "I'm sorry to interrupt," the newcomer said, her voice carrying traces of an accent Luna didn't recognize. "I'm Emma Stormwind from the southern coastal region. I was told this is where I could find Luna Brightwater and Zara Nightwind." Luna stood, immediately moving toward the young woman with the welcoming demeanor that had made her beloved by healers throughout their region. I'm Luna. This is Zara. What brings you so far north, Emma? Emma's expression grew grave. Trouble. The kind of trouble you faced with Victor Blackthorne, but worse. We need help. The council chamber immediately focused on Emma as she explained the situation developing in her home region. A group called the Pure Blood Alliance was systematically targeting not just healers, but any shifters who displayed abilities beyond traditional alpha, beta, omega classifications. They're calling people like you abominations, Emma said, her voice tight with fear and anger. Ancient healers, enhanced alphas, anyone whose abilities don't fit their narrow definitions of what shifters should be. Zara felt protective fury surge through their bond. How many have they taken? 17 that we know of, Emma replied, including my partner who's a seer. She can predict supernatural events days in advance. Luna and Zara exchanged glances, communicating through their bond about the implications of this development. Emma, Luna said gently, we'll help you. But first I need to understand something. How did you know to come to us specifically? Emma's expression grew hopeful for the first time since her arrival. Because word is spreading about what you've accomplished here, about how an ancient healer and her mate created a safe haven for people like us. You've become symbols of hope for everyone who's ever been told their gifts make them dangerous. The weight of that statement settled over the room. Luna and Zara had focused so intently on building their local confederation that they hadn't fully understood how their story was inspiring others across vast distances. Symbols of hope, Zara repeated thoughtfully. That's a heavy responsibility. It's also an opportunity, Luna added, her mind already working through the implications. Emma, if we help you deal with the Pure Blood Alliance, would your region be interested in establishing a confederation similar to ours? More than interested, Emma replied immediately. We're desperate for the kind of cooperation and protection you've created here. Alpha Catherine stood, her expression determined. Then we help them. The Confederation votes to provide military and organizational support to establish a Southern Coastal Alliance. Seconded, came from multiple voices around the room. As the Council began planning their first inter-regional intervention, Luna felt a profound sense of purpose flowing through her bond with Zara. They weren't just mates who had found happiness together. They were catalysts for a transformation that could reshape how supernatural communities operated across the entire continent. No pressure, Zara murmured through their private bond connection, reading Luna's thoughts. Just the future of our entire species, Luna replied with a smile that held equal parts excitement and determination. Chapter 8. Legacy of Love. 1 year later, Luna stood on the balcony of their private quarters in the Confederation headquarters, watching the sunset paint the mountains in brilliant colors, while Zara finished a video conference with leaders from the newly established Pacific Northwest Alliance. Through their bond, she could feel Zara's satisfaction as they concluded agreements for shared healing resources and joint training programs. That's 4 confederations now, Zara said, joining Luna on the balcony and wrapping her arms around her mate from behind. Northern Territories, Eastern Woodland, Southern Coastal, and now Pacific Northwest. With 3 more in development, Luna added, leaning back against Zara's warmth. The Great Lakes region, the Desert Southwest, and the Canadian Rockies are all establishing their own systems based on our model. It had been an extraordinary year of growth and change. The success of their intervention in the southern coastal region had sparked a continent-wide movement toward Confederation-style cooperation. Luna's abilities as an ancient healer had proven invaluable not just for healing physical wounds, but for helping traumatized communities recover from the psychological damage inflicted by exploitation and oppression. Emma's wedding is next month, Zara said, thinking about the young healer who had become one of their closest allies. Hard to believe it's been a year since she arrived desperate and alone. She wasn't alone for long, Luna replied with satisfaction. The Southern Coastal Confederation not only rescued her partner, but helped them establish the first seer training academy in recorded history. Through their bedroom window, they could see the lights of the expanded settlement that had grown around the former fortress. What had once been Victor's seat of power was now a thriving community where healers, enhanced alphas, seers, and other gifted individuals lived and worked together without fear. Luna, Zara said softly, I've been thinking about something. What? Luna asked, turning in Zara's arms to face her. A year and a half ago, I was a lone wolf who thought strength meant fighting everything alone, Zara said, her voice filled with wonder at how much had changed. Now I'm part of something that's transforming the entire continent. We're part of something that's transforming the continent, Luna corrected gently. Zara, none of this would have been possible without your tactical brilliance, your ability to inspire trust in other leaders, your willingness to fight for people you'd never met. And none of it would have been possible without your healing abilities, your vision for what communities could become, your courage to trust someone like me with your heart, Zara replied. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, their bond humming with shared contentment and love. Then Luna spoke again, her voice thoughtful. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't been poisoned that day? If you hadn't collapsed at the edge of my territory? Zara considered the question seriously. I think we would have found each other eventually. Ancient healers and their true mates are drawn to each other across impossible distances, aren't they? The old texts suggest so, Luna agreed. But I'm glad it happened the way it did. I'm glad I got to save your life, and you got to save mine. You saved more than my life, Zara said, her hand moving to trace the silver healing mark that had started their journey together. You saved my soul. Before you, I was just surviving, fighting one battle after another without any real purpose beyond the next threat. You gave me purpose beyond hiding, Luna replied, her own hand covering Zara's mark, causing both to glow with warm silver light. Before you, I was so afraid of being used for my abilities that I forgot they were meant to help people. The soft glow of their marks illuminated their faces as they shared a kiss that tasted like promises kept and dreams fulfilled. What's next for us? Zara asked, their familiar question taking on new meaning as they contemplated a future full of infinite possibilities. Everything, Luna said with a smile that held the wisdom of someone who had learned that the greatest adventures came from facing the unknown with the right partner. We continue building this network of confederations. We help more communities learn that cooperation is stronger than competition. We show the world that love doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful enough to change everything. And personally? Zara asked, though she could already sense Luna's thoughts through their bond. Personally, Luna said, her eyes sparkling with mischief and love, we start working on the next generation of healers and protectors, children who will grow up in a world where being different means being valued, not hunted. Zara's breath caught as she felt the depth of Luna's meaning through their bond. Luna, are you saying? I'm saying that an ancient healer bonded to her true mate can do more than heal others, Luna replied, her hand moving to rest over her heart. She can create new life that carries the potential to be even more extraordinary than either parent alone. The implications of this revelation flooded through their bond. Children who might inherit Luna's healing abilities and Zara's enhanced strength, who could grow up as bridges between different types of supernatural beings, who could lead the confederations into an even more cooperative and peaceful future. How long have you known? Zara asked, wonder and joy warring in her voice. 3 weeks, Luna admitted. I wanted to be sure before I told you, but Zara, what we've created together isn't just political or social transformation. We're literally creating the next evolution of our species. As they held each other on the balcony overlooking the community they'd built and the network of alliances they'd helped establish, both women understood that their love story had become something far greater than either had imagined possible. The weak Omega's mark had saved the wild Alpha's life, but together they had saved an entire way of life and built the foundation for a future where no one would have to choose between safety and authenticity. Their bond, forged in desperation and strengthened through trials, had become a beacon of hope that would guide supernatural communities for generations to come. And now, with new life growing between them, that beacon would continue to shine long after they were gone. The healing mark that had started their journey together had become the symbol of a new age, one where love conquered fear, cooperation defeated oppression, and the courage to trust someone else with your heart could literally change the world. Chapter 9. The Next Generation. 2 years later, Luna stood in the nursery of their expanded quarters, gently rocking their daughter as morning sunlight streamed through windows that overlooked the thriving Confederation capital. Little Arya Nightwind Brightwater was 6 months old and already showing signs of the extraordinary heritage she'd inherited from both her parents. She's glowing again, Zara said softly, entering the nursery with 2 cups of coffee and a tablet full of the day's reports from across the Continental Alliance network. Luna looked down at their daughter, whose tiny hands were indeed emanating a soft silver light as she slept peacefully in her mother's arms. It happens when she's completely content. Dr. Chen thinks it's an early manifestation of healing abilities, combined with your enhanced alpha energy. A baby who literally glows with happiness, Zara mused, settling into the chair beside Luna's rocking chair. I suppose it's fitting for the daughter of an ancient healer and an enhanced alpha. Through their bond, Luna could feel Zara's wonder and protective love for their child. The past 2 years had transformed Zara from a fierce lone wolf into a devoted mate and mother, though she'd lost none of her strategic brilliance or fighting capability. Any word from the European delegations? Luna asked, noting the reports on Zara's tablet. They're arriving next week for the Continental Congress, Zara replied, her voice carrying both excitement and concern. The representatives from 12 different European alliances, all wanting to establish formal cooperation agreements with our Confederation network. Luna shifted Arya to her shoulder, marveling at how her daughter immediately settled into perfect contentment. Nervous? Hopeful, Zara corrected. If we can establish stable alliances with European supernatural communities, we'll have created the first truly global network for protecting and empowering gifted individuals. The Continental Congress had been Luna's idea, a gathering of representatives from all the confederations inspired by their Northern Territories model. What had started as 7 regional alliances in North America had grown to include confederations in South America, Australia, and now potentially Europe. There's something else, Zara said, her tone carrying the careful note that meant important news. Emma called this morning. The Southern Coastal Confederation has identified 3 more ancient healers. Luna's eyes widened. 3 more. That would bring the known total to 7. 7 ancient healers, all bonded to mates who display enhanced abilities, Zara said thoughtfully. Dr. Chen thinks it's not coincidence. She believes the species is evolving rapidly in response to the social changes we've initiated. Evolution through cooperation rather than competition, Luna mused, gently patting Arya's back as their daughter made soft, contented sounds. It makes sense. When gifted individuals aren't forced to hide or fight for survival, they can focus on developing their abilities and finding compatible mates. A soft knock at the nursery door interrupted their conversation. Emma Stormwind entered, her own 6-month-old daughter in her arms, and her mate, the seer Cassandra, beside her. Sorry to interrupt, Emma said with a smile, but we wanted to introduce the girls to each other before the Congress begins. Luna stood carefully, moving closer so the 2 babies could see each other. Immediately, both children began to glow, Arya with her characteristic silver light, and Emma's daughter Sage with a warm golden radiance that spoke of her inherited seer abilities. They recognize each other, Cassandra observed, her voice carrying the distant tone that marked her as actively using her prophetic abilities. I can see glimpses of their future together. They'll be close friends, possibly more than friends when they're older. Powerful allies, certainly, Emma added, watching as the 2 babies reached toward each other with obvious fascination. Zara and Luna exchanged glances through their bond, both thinking about the implications of a generation of children born to bonded ancient healers and enhanced partners. Cassandra, Luna said carefully, what else do you see when you look at them? The seer's eyes grew distant as she focused her abilities. I see a world where their abilities are celebrated rather than feared. I see confederations on every continent, connected by bonds of mutual support, rather than threatened by competition. I see. She paused, her expression growing awed. I see the end of the age of hiding. The end of hiding? Zara asked. Within their lifetime, Cassandra confirmed. Supernatural communities will no longer need to conceal themselves from human populations. The cooperation and strength built through the Confederation system will make us confident enough to reveal ourselves as protectors and healers rather than threats. Luna felt excitement and trepidation flow through her bond with Zara. The idea of supernatural beings living openly alongside humans had been a distant dream, something that might happen centuries in the future, if at all. That's a lot of responsibility for one generation, Emma said, gently rocking her daughter. It's a lot of opportunity, Luna corrected, looking down at Arya's peaceful face. These children will grow up in a world where being different means being valued. They'll never know the fear of hiding their gifts, or the loneliness of believing they're the only ones with their abilities. And they'll have each other, Zara added, watching as baby Sage reached out to touch Arya's glowing hand, causing both children to laugh with pure joy. Over the next week, as delegates arrived from around the world for the Continental Congress, Luna and Zara found themselves hosting not just political negotiations, but a gathering of families. Nearly every delegation included at least one ancient healer or enhanced individual, and many brought their children. The sight of a dozen babies and toddlers displaying various supernatural abilities, from Arya's healing glow to a little boy who could communicate telepathically with animals, created an atmosphere of hope that infused every formal session. 5 years ago, Luna said during her opening address to the Congress, Arya sleeping peacefully in her arms while she spoke, "I was hiding in the woods, terrified that my abilities would be discovered and exploited. Today, I stand before representatives from 4 continents, holding my daughter, who will never know that fear." The assembly, over 200 delegates representing supernatural communities from around the globe, erupted in applause that seemed to shake the building's foundations. "This is what we've built together," Luna continued, her voice carrying to every corner of the Great Hall. "Not just political alliances or military agreements, but a future where our children can grow up proud of who they are and confident in their place in the world." Zara stepped forward to join Luna at the podium, their bond mark glowing softly as they stood together before the assembled representatives of their transformed world. "The question before us," Zara said, her voice carrying the authority that had made her a legend among supernatural communities, "is not whether we can maintain what we've built, but how quickly we can extend it to every corner of the world." As the Congress continued over the following days, agreements were signed that would establish confederation networks on every continent, create exchange programs for gifted individuals, and begin the careful process of revealing supernatural communities to sympathetic human governments. Chapter 10. The Age of Light. 5 years later, Luna stood before the United Nations General Assembly in New York, her now 5-year-old daughter Arya beside her, both wearing formal dress that honored their supernatural heritage while respecting the gravity of the historic moment. "Distinguished delegates," Luna began, her voice carrying clearly through the assembly hall where human and supernatural representatives sat together for the first time in recorded history. "I stand before you today not as a hidden minority seeking tolerance, but as a representative of communities that have spent the past decade proving that cooperation creates strength." In the gallery, Zara watched with their 2-year-old son Marcus on her lap, their family complete and their bond stronger than ever. The boy, named for Zara's old second-in-command, who had become one of their closest friends, showed signs of inheriting both healing abilities and enhanced alpha traits. "The Supernatural Confederation Network now encompasses every inhabited continent," Luna continued, "representing over 2 million individuals who contribute to global security, environmental restoration, medical advancement, and conflict resolution." The revelation of supernatural communities to the human world had been carefully orchestrated over 3 years, beginning with discreet cooperation on natural disasters and medical emergencies, where supernatural abilities could save lives without causing panic. The Confederation system's emphasis on service and protection had made the transition remarkably smooth. "We do not ask for special treatment or separate status," Luna said, her hand resting gently on Arya's shoulder as her daughter stood proudly beside her. "We ask only for recognition of what we have already proven, that diversity of abilities strengthens communities, that cooperation achieves more than competition, and that the courage to trust across differences creates possibilities none of us could achieve alone." In the Assembly Hall, delegates from 195 nations listened with attention that would have been impossible before the Confederation system had demonstrated the value of supernatural cooperation. The Global Healing Initiative had saved millions of lives during the pandemic 3 years earlier. Enhanced alphas had prevented or mitigated dozens of natural disasters. Seers had provided early warning systems that prevented conflicts and industrial accidents. The children standing with supernatural representatives today, Luna gestured to Arya, and the other young people scattered throughout the assembly, represent the first generation to grow up believing that their abilities are gifts to be shared rather than secrets to be hidden. Arya stepped forward slightly, her young voice clear and confident as she addressed the assembly. My mama saved my other mama's life with her healing mark. Together, they saved lots of other people. Now I'm learning to help people too. The simple statement from a 5-year-old carried more weight than any political speech. Here was a child who had never known fear of her own abilities, who saw healing and protection as natural responsibilities rather than burdens. The age of hiding is over, Luna concluded, her words carrying the weight of history. The age of light has begun, an age where supernatural and human communities work together to address the challenges facing our shared world. An age where children like my daughter grow up believing that being different means being valuable. The vote to formally recognize supernatural confederations as legitimate international entities passed with overwhelming support. As Luna and Arya were surrounded by delegates offering congratulations and cooperation agreements, both mother and daughter glowed softly with the silver light that had become a symbol of hope around the world. That evening, back in their home in the Northern Territory's capital, the extended family that had grown around Luna and Zara gathered for dinner. Emma and Cassandra were there with their children, Dr. Chen and her family, Marcus and his mate, and dozens of others who had become part of their chosen family over the years. Any regrets? Zara asked Luna, as they stood together on their familiar balcony, watching their children play in the garden below, while their friends and family filled their home with warmth and laughter. Only that it took a near-death experience to bring us together, Luna replied, her hand finding Zara's as their bond marks pulsed with warm light. I think, Zara said, pulling Luna closer, that some of the best things in life happen when we least expect them. Like a scared healer saving a dying alpha and accidentally changing the world, Luna asked with a smile. Like two people who thought they were too different to belong anywhere discovering that they belonged with each other, Zara corrected, sealing the thought with a kiss that tasted like promises kept and dreams fulfilled. As their marks blazed with silver light under the stars, both women understood that their love story had become something far greater than either could have imagined. The weak Omega's mark that had saved the wild alpha had become the foundation stone of a new age, where love conquered fear, cooperation defeated oppression, and the courage to trust someone else with your heart could literally transform the world. Their daughter Arya looked up from her play and waved at her parents, her small hand glowing with the healing light that would guide the next generation toward an even brighter future. In her smile, Luna and Zara could see the reflection of everything they had built together, a world where being different meant being cherished, where love created strength, and where the greatest adventures came from facing the unknown with the right person beside you. The healing mark had saved more than one life. It had saved the future itself. The end.